If you've been following everything happening around the team lately, you probably feel it too. Something big might be coming. This time of the year is always full of rumors, speculation, and behind-the-scenes movement, and it feels like the front office could be quietly preparing for a major decision. The roster is strong, the expectations are growing, and there are a few areas where one bold move could completely change the direction of the season. So the big question right now is simple. Could we be on the verge of seeing a move that reshapes this team? Do you believe in Schneider's work? Write your opinion in the comments and be sure to click the like button, because here I keep you well informed. Let's go! Trade rumors are starting to heat up around the Seattle Seahawks right now, and there is a growing sense that something significant could be brewing behind the scenes inside the organization. With NFL free agency right around the corner, this is exactly the time of year when General Manager John Schneider tends to get aggressive. Seahawks fans have seen it before. Sometimes it comes in the form of contract extensions for key players already on the roster, and other times it turns into unexpected roster moves that reshape the direction of the team. This year, however, the conversation circulating around the league feels a little different, because the Seahawks have now been linked to multiple potential blockbuster trade targets. When you look at the roster and the current state of the defense, it becomes easier to understand why Seattle might be exploring those possibilities. The Seahawks have built a strong defensive identity over the years, and historically, that side of the ball has played a huge role in the franchise's biggest successes. But even strong units can still evolve, and one position group that clearly stands out as an area where Seattle could get even better is the edge rusher spot. Now, to be clear, the current group is not a weakness. Players like Uchenna Nwosu, Boye Mafe, Derek Hall, and DeMarcus Lawrence have all contributed in meaningful ways. The pass rush had solid moments and produced important plays throughout the season. But if you look at it honestly, it still feels like a group that performed well rather than a unit that completely dominated. In other words, it was good, maybe even very good at times, but not quite elite. Uchenna Nwosu had a strong season with impressive sack production, yet there are financial questions surrounding his future with the team because of the money he is due on his contract. That could create a scenario where Seattle either restructures his deal, releases him, or potentially brings him back at a lower number. Boye Mafe is another interesting situation, because rumors suggested that the Seahawks actually explored trading him before the deadline, including discussions with the Kansas City Chiefs that ultimately did not materialize. Then there is DeMarcus Lawrence, who made big plays, but has also been surrounded by retirement speculation this offseason. While those rumors have cooled slightly after the NFL Combine, they still add uncertainty to the long-term outlook of the position. When you combine those three situations together, it becomes obvious why the Seahawks might be exploring outside options. If the front office believes this roster is capable of competing right now, adding a true game-changing edge rusher could elevate the entire defense to another level. And that is where the first massive name enters the conversation: Maxx Crosby. Crosby has been connected to Seattle in rumors for quite some time, and the relationship between the player and the Seahawks front office has reportedly been on the radar for years. In fact, there have even been suggestions that Seattle's previous communication with the Raiders originally stemmed from the Seahawks showing interest in acquiring Crosby. Recently, those rumors have started gaining traction again because of growing tension in Las Vegas and speculation that Crosby himself may be open to a change of scenery. When you look at Crosby's production over the past 4 seasons, it is easy to see why he is one of the most coveted defensive players in the NFL. He is not just a sack specialist. He is a complete edge defender who generates pressure, racks up tackles, and consistently disrupts opposing offenses in multiple ways. Players with that level of impact rarely become available through trade, which is why the price tag is expected to be enormous. League sources have suggested The Raiders could demand a return similar to the type of package teams discuss for elite defensive superstars, potentially a player plus 2 first-round picks. That is a massive investment, but the Seahawks might be one of the teams willing to consider it if they believe Crosby could transform the defense under head coach Mike Macdonald. There are even hypothetical trade frameworks being discussed. One possible scenario would involve Seattle sending a 2026 first-round pick, a 2027 first-round pick, and linebacker Tyrese Knight to Las Vegas in exchange for Crosby. The reasoning behind that type of deal is simple. Seattle would be giving up premium draft capital, but they would be acquiring a proven elite defender instead of hoping to develop one through the draft. And if Crosby isn't the move, there is another intriguing name that has surfaced in trade discussions: Kayvon Thibodeaux. The former Oregon star was drafted by the New York Giants with massive expectations after a dominant college career. While he has shown flashes of high-level ability in the NFL, his situation in New York has become complicated. The Giants recently made major investments in other pass rushers, including Brian Burns and rookie Abdul Carter, which has left Thibodeaux in a strange position as the potential odd man out on the depth chart. Because of that, teams around the league have reportedly gotten the impression that the Giants are exploring the possibility of trading him. Thibodeaux's 2025 numbers may not immediately jump off the page, but injuries limited him to only 10 games. When healthy, he has shown the explosive athleticism and disruptive potential that made him such a highly regarded prospect coming out of Oregon. For a defensive coach like Mike Macdonald, that type of player could be extremely appealing. Macdonald has built a reputation for getting the most out of his defensive linemen by rotating them strategically and putting them in positions where they can attack relentlessly. In the right system, a player like Thibodeaux might unlock another level of production. The biggest difference between the Crosby and Thibodeaux scenarios would be the cost. While Crosby could require a historic trade package, the Giants may only be looking for something in the range of a 3rd or 4th round pick to move Thibodeaux. That makes the decision fascinating for Seattle. Do they swing big for a proven superstar, or do they take a calculated gamble on a younger player who still has room to grow? With free agency approaching, and John Schneider known for making bold moves during this exact window of the offseason, the possibility of a major trade cannot be ignored. The Seahawks clearly understand that strengthening the pass rush could take this defense from very good to potentially dominant. And the names now circulating in league conversations suggest the front office is at least exploring every opportunity. So as these rumors continue to build and the NFL world waits to see what Seattle might do next, there is one big question that every Seahawks fan is now asking themselves. If the opportunity really presents itself, should the Seahawks go all in on a blockbuster trade for a pass rusher like Max Crosby, or would you rather see the team pursue a lower-risk move for someone like Kayvon Thibodeaux? The interesting part about this entire situation is that Seattle might not actually need to choose just one direction immediately. John Schneider has built a reputation around the league for being patient, calculating, and opportunistic. He rarely forces a move unless the value lines up with what the Seahawks believe a player is truly worth. That approach is exactly why this upcoming stretch before free agency could become so important. If the Seahawks believe they are truly in a win-now window, a player like Max Crosby becomes incredibly tempting. Think about what he would bring to this defense the moment he steps onto the field. Crosby is not simply a pass rusher who occasionally flashes on 3rd down. He is the type of defender who changes the entire game plan for opposing offenses. Offensive coordinators have to account for him on nearly every snap. He forces double teams, he collapses pockets, and he creates chaos that allows the rest of the defensive front to make plays. Now imagine pairing that kind of disruptive presence with the defensive system Mike Macdonald runs. Macdonald's defenses thrive when they can generate pressure without constantly relying on heavy blitz packages. When a team has an elite edge rusher who can win one-on-one matchups consistently, it opens up the entire playbook. Suddenly, linebackers can attack gaps more aggressively. Defensive backs can disguise coverages longer. And quarterbacks feel pressure even when it isn't actually there. That is why so many Seahawks fans are intrigued by the possibility. Even if the price is steep, a player like Crosby could immediately elevate Seattle's defensive ceiling. The Seahawks have already shown they can build strong defensive units, but adding a true superstar pass rusher could push that group into dominant territory. But of course, every big move comes with risk. Giving up 2 first-round picks is never something a front office takes lightly. Those picks represent future talent, cost-controlled contracts, and long-term roster flexibility. Once they are gone, there is no getting them back. That is why the alternative option involving Kayvon Thibodeaux might be so appealing to Seattle's decision-makers. Thibodeaux still carries enormous upside. His athletic ability, explosiveness, and pass-rushing instincts were the reasons he was selected near the top of the draft in the first place. Sometimes, players simply need the right environment and the right coaching staff to unlock their full potential. In New York, his role has become crowded with the arrival of other high-profile edge rushers. In Seattle, however, he could step into a system designed to maximize his strengths. Under Mike Macdonald, defensive linemen are rotated intelligently to keep them fresh and aggressive. Instead of playing an exhausting number of snaps, players can attack every play with maximum effort. That type of system has helped many pass rushers produce some of the best seasons of their careers. If Thibodeaux landed in that environment, there is a real chance we could see the version of him that once dominated at Oregon. And if Seattle could acquire that kind of talent for a third-round pick or a similar package, the risk becomes much easier to justify. It would allow the Seahawks to strengthen their pass rush without sacrificing the massive draft capital required for a blockbuster deal. This is why the next few weeks are going to be fascinating for Seahawks fans. The front office clearly understands the opportunity in front of them. The roster has talent. The defense has a strong foundation. And with the right addition on the edge, the entire unit could become even more dangerous. John Schneider is known for making bold decisions when the moment calls for it. And right now, the timing feels significant. Trade rumors are swirling, teams around the league are evaluating their rosters, and players who normally would never be available could suddenly hit the market. Whether it turns into a massive headline-grabbing trade or a quieter move that ends up paying huge dividends later, the Seahawks appear to be actively exploring ways to upgrade one of the most important positions on the defense. And if one of these moves actually happens, it could reshape what this team looks like heading into the next NFL season. Now, I want to hear from you. If you were in John Schneider's position right now, which direction would you take? Would you go all in and trade the picks necessary to bring Max Crosby to Seattle? Or would you target a player like Kayvon Thibodeaux and bet on his upside in Mike Macdonald's defense? Before you go, make sure you subscribe to the channel, leave a like on the video, and turn on notifications so you never miss the latest Seahawks news and rumors. And if you want to keep following everything happening around the team, click the video that's on your screen right now, because the biggest Seahawks updates and breaking stories, you're going to find them right here first.